the ordinance. Just as a refresher, we had first reading of this ordinance, at the last council meeting, and we referred it to the Public Safety Committee to review. I have reviewed it, and I feel very comfortable with it. We've only made one change in the ordinance, and that is to take one word out in number 10. It deals with hypodermic syringes and needles. We're taking out the word needles at the request of the state agency. Let me go back and refresh your memory on some of the reasons we sent it back to the committee. I was concerned that the drug paraphernalia definitions were overly broad and that we would be enforcing the laws on convenience stores and other businesses that may have some of this. After being instructed by the chief on exactly how this ordinance was put together, I feel comfortable. The first section, 14.351, are the definitions straight out of the state law, and we have adopted those as definitions of paraphernalia, but you don't. That does not mean that they cannot be sold. These things can be sold. It's when you put a controlled substance with it that it becomes illegal, and these things, the paraphernalia, then kicks in on the state level as a civil crime. What we're trying to do is take the same intent that the state law has and make a city ordinance that, like all city ordinances, would carry a 30-day in jail and/or $500 fine, so that if a CPD police officer saw or had in his custody a person that had a piece of paraphernalia, like a bong or a pipe, and it had a substance in it that could be a controlled substance, and pretty well would be a controlled substance, they would not have to wait until it was tested to make sure it was a controlled substance before they could issue a City of Columbia ordinance violation ticket. This will allow them to get people that are maybe using controlled substances off of the streets right away, rather than waiting for a test to come on. 14-352 are 14 items that can be considered by the officer to help him make the decision on whether the possession of the items that he is observing or the smoke that he's smelling would allow them to make a City of Columbia ordinance violation, which is a $500 fine and 30 days in jail, or 30 days in jail. So this is not intended to be an attack on convenience stores or the vape shops unless they have illegal drugs in a container that can be tested. We are trying to work on enabling CPD to take some of the controlled substance uses off of the sidewalk in the City of Columbia, rather than trying to put businesses out of business.
And I think that's important, Mr. Chairman, that's clear to everyone, that what this really is about.
Chief, do you have any comments on that?
Maybe just a couple. One, I think you explained it very succinctly. Bottom line is the instrument, as you know, as described in the ordinance, in itself is not illegal. It's illegal if it's used to, essentially ingest. We're talking about more of somebody putting a substance in their body, but also it would apply to somebody that might decide to go into farming inside to grow a controlled substance. But it's use of that instrument in conjunction with an illegal drug to introduce that into your body. And we spend a lot of time talking about violent crime and the impact that has on our community, and oftentimes our emerging drug threats get overlooked. We've had a steady increase in overdoses over the years. We've done a good job in equipping our officers with Narcan to be able to address that. I think this is another tool that allows us to, it does put a criminal penalty, but it also allows us to, intercede in a situation where someone is using drugs on the street. It's very likely that when we encounter a lot of folks on the street that we're coming across drug paraphernalia, it's more so makeshift pipes to either smoke marijuana, methamphetamine, crack cocaine, heroin in different forms, and oftentimes mixed fentanyl. And these oftentimes are proven to be fatal in nature. Almost every fatal overdose that we respond to now, we have a response protocol and we find drug paraphernalia. And that's, something that the coroner something the coroner will take and when determining the cause of death other than toxicology. But it's, there's a lot of different instruments that people use to ingest, but in almost all of our fatal, there is drug paraphernalia. And then in our non-fatals, where we're able to introduce Narcan and reverse that overdose, we typically find drug paraphernalia present there too.
Any questions from the committee?
Yes, I always have to put my public defender hat on just for a moment, but just for clarity, under 352, Section 6, and it says the innocence of an owner or anyone in control of the object as to a direct violation of this section shall not prevent a finding that the object is intended for use or designed for use as drug paraphernalia. And I'm trying to figure out, so how do we use? Are we saying that, what is that saying?
It's saying that if your son picks up your pipe and takes it out and does something that the innocent, if it's your paraphernalia and
Right?
somebody else uses it, you are innocent of the crime.
It means that the little boy who picks it up.
Whoever stole your paraphernalia or misused your paraphernalia.
Well, and I think that's what I was trying to clarify. Does it mean that whether or not you had the intent, you could potentially, if you determine that the object itself is drug paraphernalia, that's what I read it as saying, then what though? Are you saying that?
If the drug
Because then you're
paraphernalia
in possession of
belongs
drug
to somebody
paraphernalia.
that's innocent,
Then they're good?
then they are good, but the person that's
Is that what
using it
it's
is.
I'm not sure I'm understanding what y'all are saying.
Well, that's kind of why I had the question. This is under information, relevant factors that can be considered. I'm just trying to figure out, the innocence of, sometimes it's easy to read yourself. Innocence of an owner or anyone in
You
control.
see number 6, Chief, 352-6, about halfway through that paragraph says, the innocence of an owner or of anyone in control of the object as a direct violation of this section shall not prevent a finding that the object is intended for use or designed for use as drug paraphernalia. What that says to me is that if somebody has used somebody else's object that would be considered paraphernalia, it would not be an illegal action for the owner of the paraphernalia, it'd be an illegal action for the person that got caught.
Exactly.
Even if it's the child?
And no, I think this goes to the point of the concern with the vape shops, for example.
Yeah.
That someone is caught with say has a pipe that they have a receipt for maybe buying at a vape shop. But we find with that pipe that it contains marijuana. It's, it doesn't go back on the vape shop for selling that
Okay.
unless they sold it specifically for the purpose of smoking marijuana.
I got you.
That comes right out of state statute.
That is straight out of the state statute.
It can, but I just want to make sure how we interpret it, like, because what I wasn't clear was if the object itself is deemed drug paraphernalia, then what does that mean as far as who found it? But I may be overreading it. It was just kind of confusing to me.
Even if you overread it, I think if you circle back to that object, that what is being described as paraphernalia, based on training and experience and these various factors, has to be accompanied by narcotics, illegal substances.
Okay.
It has to be either being used to consume or possessed in concert. Big bag of, or a brick of cocaine, scales, packaging material. If you had independent of cocaine, if we just find a set of scales, that's not paraphernalia.
Okay. I think I'm clear. I think I just wanted to make sure that that sentence wasn't doing anything to make the innocent person that they refer to guilty.
I think it's the opposite. I think it protects that innocent person.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's kind of what I wanted to make sure, okay.
It really does center around the word "and." I mean, that's what this whole statute is about. It's about the drugs and the paraphernalia together,
Yeah.
not separately.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Is it the consensus of the committee that this be referred back to council?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
But my intent is to ask the city council to put it on the agenda tonight. I think a 2/3 vote for the city council to do that. It does not involve finances, so it can be done. So vote for it when I make the motion to put it on the agenda tonight. We'll get second reading tomorrow. Any further business for the committee?
you're telling us. That was, I don't have anything else.
Madam Clerk, we will stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Duvall, you had mentioned something about, and maybe it would be for the next committee meeting, the taxi cab situation, the taxi cab permitting.
Yeah,
Did you want
it's gonna be on the 22nd.
22nd?
Yeah,
We'll just add that to the 22nd is primarily just a general update.
a general update, and we
We'll
will,
just add that to the update
I think we will have,
versus it being just a standalone.
are they gonna, TK, are they gonna refer the goat ordinance to public safety or environmental?
I think it goes to environmental, doing all the services.
And that's the farming committee.
I also think there's a really good chance I won't be here.
What committee is meeting on the 22nd?
We have a public safety meeting at
In Milwaukee of all
So why do
places.
you have one today? Is that why you kept this one short? I'm trying to figure out, it says we have public safety on the 22nd. I was like, so why are we here today?
We don't have it before us today. It's not here yet. They won't let us talk about it.
So you're gonna, Mr. Zoning Brown may not be here next.
I may not be here. I'm going to the presidential debate on the
Question in relation
23rd.
to the first part of this. Circumstantial evidence of a really good chance of anyone in control of the
Yes, I am.
object to deliver it to persons whom he knows should reasonably.
I feel like me and Tim are in this together. He's doing all the hard work. So I'm gonna give him support. So yeah. So I guess that's
I'm
where,
really
that's where
concerned that
I'm.
we're here this
I hear what you're
meeting.
saying in the meeting, but I think.
No, I'm really concerned, Mr. Duval, that we're meeting again next week.
Oh, he set it up real smooth.
Look, you know what look, you know what that means? I'm gonna stop quickly clicking all of those accepts.
And then I get click regret later on.
Yeah, and I'm like, what?
Are we off the air? Person has, a discussion you would have,
Tamika is gonna run for
it
Senate.
could be a,
Oh, is she out there?
for undercover purpose,
Yeah.
where there's a discussion about
And you can tell from here,
equipment
I
to
think
smoking illegal substance.
Sure.
I mean,